What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Danny. We are just chilling here on a Monday night, ripping through some episodes, having a great time, and delivering this information to you stream of consciousness style, which is how I've been enjoying this podcast the most recently, as opposed to doing it in a more dry, kind of scripted format. I am now trying to just speak directly to the audience, speak directly to the listener, and have it be more conversational. And I think that's just the most genuine, authentic way to connect with people and to create any sort of positive change in their lives. And so that's the purpose of this podcast. This podcast is all about inspiring you to try different techniques, different methodologies towards bettering your life. And so one of those ways to better your life, I think, is through authentic human connection. And that's why it's so important, I think, um, to connect with people on a very human to human level and not make this seem scripted, not make this seem like a news channel, not make it seem like just a dry delivery of information. I want this to be based on personal experiences, and I also want to be based on some of the learning that I've been subjecting myself to and conversations that I'm having with people that come onto the podcast. I want it to be inspiring in all those different ways, but really primarily grounded in human connection. With that said, the episode today, the topic of today, is the importance of setting an environment on shaping your future. So I know a lot of people understand the concept of you are a reflection of your five closest friends, but I don't know if a lot of people really translate this into the influence that your environment has on you as well. Obviously, we like to mirror other people. We're influenced heavily by people that are close to us. And that is the origin of that expression is because psychologically we're influenced by people very subtly. And over months and years of time, we start to actually blend our habits and our ways of thinking together with those people. And that's kind of the root of culture in the first place, is by being around similar people that are close to you or that you have kind of relatable viewpoints on life. You start to slowly merge those ideas, and over many, many, many years, it starts to become a cultural concept. And so you're kind of in your own little pot of culture with your closest friends, but this also includes the environment that you're in, the setting, the city, the workspace, the house that you're living in. And so, honestly, for me, one of the biggest things that helped me level up my life and change my life in many ways was switching up where I lived. When I first left my hometown in 2015 to go to college, it was the biggest possible, transformation that I had gone through up until that point. And given I was 19 or 20 at the time, so it wasn't like I had really that many opportunities to transform my life, nor was I really interested in doing that kind of stuff at that time. But whether I liked it or not, it created the biggest change in me. And the reason behind that was because not only was I living in a different city, I was also exposed to people from different walks of life. I was exposed to new opportunities. I was exposed to new ways of learning and also ways of teaching. And so all of this was like I was being reborn in some ways. Like this was the start of a brand new phase of life. And it allowed me a clean slate to go and pursue what I wanted to and kind of, reinvent myself in a lot of ways. And so I would highly encourage everybody to get out of the hometown, or if you're feeling stuck in some way in your life, just think about switching up the setting. Think about switching up where exactly you are, what you call home. Temporarily call another place home and see how that changes your trajectory. If you can go out there and surround yourself with different people and expose yourself to new ideas, expose yourself to new activities, new hobbies, new scenery, all of this can be extremely inspiring. And it's worked for me time and time again. I've lived in a few different cities over the course of my life. And in my own personal experience, every time that I've switched up my city or switched up the location or switched up even the neighborhood in the city that I'm living in, I have a completely new lens through which I can view the life that I was living. And this is so important. I mean, the fact that I hear creators talking about moving to New York or moving to LA and throwing all their eggs in that basket and just going for it, it really goes to show that people do understand this fundamentally. People do really understand that if you live in one area forever, you're going to start to become a little bit stagnant. You're going to start to develop thought patterns that are synchronized with the environment in which you're in. And eventually, you're going to kind of get into a rut unless you're doing things on a daily or weekly basis to break yourself out of that. And so that's kind of the point of this message, is to consider whether or not you're falling into those patterns. If you feel like you're kind of hitting your head against a wall and you're not making the breakthroughs, whether that's in your career or whether that's in something that you're creating or that's a project that you're working on, you can start to slowly switch up the environment. You don't have to do something very dramatic. You don't necessarily have to drop everything and move to a different city on the other side of the globe. But what you can do is work in a new environment. One day per week, try and work from a different area. Go to a different part of town. Switch up the office setting. Go work in a different corner of the office. Switch up your schedule. Work later hours. Work earlier hours. Expose yourself to different patterns to break yourself out of those ruts. And fundamentally, that's what it comes down to. It's not letting yourself get into a stagnant, calcified kind of thinking pattern where you are just 5-10 years of the same habit, the same routine just being regurgitated. You want to continually keep yourself on your toes. It's like when you're working out, right? When you're in the gym, you don't want to do the same exact motion for the same muscle group every single time. You want to switch it up. You want to keep your body guessing. And in the same way, you want to keep your mind guessing. You want to keep your mind active. You want to keep your thought patterns fresh. And you want to be seeing the world through that new lens as often as you can. Now, there is something to be said about the power of routine and the power of stability. And there are phases of life, of course, where you can't just really give everything up or switch things up too dramatically. But in these cases, I still recommend that you make minor shifts in the setting or the environment that you're exposing yourself to on a day-to-day basis. I think that is incredibly crucial. It could also be travel. It could be escaping your hometown or escaping the city that you live in and going and experiencing different foods, different cultures, different cuisines, and coming back and having that fresh outlook. So that's it for today, guys. I hope it encourages you to take a little bit of time to think about how much setting is actually affecting your day-to-day life and what you might be able to do in some subtle ways to remedy that.